Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Yorgos and this is the Boat. You have decided to buy a boat. You have identified what that boat is, you have set your budget, and now is the important day. Actually go and see and inspect that boat. This is where we are concentrating on today. And my basic advice to you is trust your senses. And I mean all of them. It means that you need to touch the boat, you need to hear the boat, you need to see the boat, you need to smell the boat, and you might have to taste it as well, and we will get into that very soon. So when you go to see the boat, I think that what is really important for you is to have this with you. Take a notepad with you, have a pen, and just write down everything that you see on the boat. So let's start with the first important step, and that is the visual inspection. What you need then to look at. And I would say the first part is looking at the hull. And what is important for that is to check the hull for any cracks, blisters, or any signs of damage. Is it over or under the water? And do you see any places where the boat has been repaired? And feel free to just ask the owner of the boat what kind of repairs that boat has had. And just then, once you know where those spots are, just check it visually. Is that repair done well or not? Because you might have to redo it, and that obviously can get it rather expensive. Knock around the boat with something hard, just to check if there has been any kind of delamination or any water in the glass fiber. And easiest thing to understand this, or rule of thumb, would be if the sound is rather sharp, that means that the glass fiber is okay. If the sound is a bit muffled, then I would say that there is probably some damage there. Then moving on to the transom, look for any cracks, rot, or damage. And the transom, I would say, is the most important part of that visual inspection, because most of the times it is actually the transom that is on the water. And if there is any kind of rot, then it just gets worse. And normally when you do find it, it's already at a very late stage. There is a rule of thumb that it applies also for the rust, that whatever you see is about 10% of the damage that is already there. Then look at the deck and the superstructure and inspect for any soft spots, any cracks, or any other signs of damage. If you're buying a sailing boat, check for wear and tear and the overall condition of the sails. And if your boat then has any seacocks or through hulls, just ensure that they operate smoothly and look for corrosion or damage. And this is really important, because if there is any type of corrosion there, normally that means that the boat is already in a really bad shape. And then look at the anchors, any lines and fenders that the boat has, because if their condition is bad, then that means that there are some hundreds of dollars that you will have to incur in costs very soon. Moving on then to the second part, which is really also important, is the mechanical inspection. And we are starting with the engine, where you should be then looking for any kind of oil leaks, listen for any unusual sounds for the engine, any excess vibrations, and ensure that the boat starts easily. and then once the engine has started, how does it sound when given throttle and then putting back to idle. And once the engine is warm, check for the color of the exhaust. It might be that if there is kind of, let's say, smoke there, then the engine might have a problem. Then you need to look into the steering and the controls, and you need to verify that the steering mechanism and controls are functioning properly, and that it doesn't really get stuck anywhere when you're turning. And then you need to look at the propeller and the shaft of the engine, and you need to look for any kind of damage there. It will be chipped and quite heavily if it has hit a stone, or if there are any signs of kind of general wear. And then look at the electrical systems, check for the lights working, any instruments, and any wiring, that everything is functioning properly, there is no corrosion in the wiring, and that everything seems to operate correctly. Then we are moving on to the interior inspection, and what we need then to be looking at is the cabin and the upholstery. Inspect if there is any water damage, if there is any mold or mildew, and that is rather easy because you can smell it, or you can see the color, like in my case, that the upholstery has some mold, and then the color has turned black on the back where the plywood is. And then moving on to the bilge, check for any excessive water on the bilge, and that would indicate that there is a leak. And now, depending if the boat is already, when you're inspecting it, in the water or outside, if it is in the water and the type of water that it is salt water, then at least what we did with the AV boat is we actually dipped our finger in it and tasted the water just to make sure. If it would be salt water, then that would indicate that there would be a leak. There was no leak because the water actually tasted fresh, so it was rather rainwater that was in there and not salt water. And moving on to the plumbing, if there is any plumbing in the boat, you need to ensure that the fresh water and wastewater systems that are working properly. And again, these can get really expensive really quickly if they are not. Then once you have inspected the interior, then it's time to check the documentation review, and that is really important because if the documentation is missing, that might be because simply the boat is stolen, and you wouldn't want to buy a stolen boat. So check that the boat has the proper documentation and that the seller legally owns it. So make sure that the name that is on the documentation is actually the person that you are meeting selling you the boat. Then also check for maintenance records. That will indicate how often the servicing has been done, oil changes, filter changes, and that sort of things. Also, if there has been some kind of major repair that the boat had, that would also be then shown from those records. Also check that the hull identification number or serial number actually matches the paperwork. So what the boat has a serial number actually is matching the paperwork. That is also very crucial because there might have been some kind of wrongdoing there, so you don't want to be dealing with a boat like that. Finally, rather important part is that ask for a sea trial. If it is possible for you to check the boat's performance in real life conditions. So drive it where the boat is, and pay attention to how the boat is handling, how it is accelerating, and if there are any unusual noises. So these are my tips for you to check when you are buying a boat, when you're inspecting a boat. If you feel by any means uncomfortable or unable to do those kind of checks yourself, please do seek the help of a professional. That is rather important, because you do not want to buy a boat that is not in a good shape if you're not trusting your own judgment. Also, if you have any questions regarding the boat's history, then go ahead and ask the owner about any kind of other information that he can provide to you. Remember in the beginning that I told you that you need to have a notebook and a pen with you. That is really important, because all of those tips that I just gave you, you have your notepad and then you write everything down. And why that is really crucial? Because you have already the information about the boat. You have inspected its condition. You know exactly where the problems are. You know exactly what you will have to do if you buy that boat. But you also know the asking price. And the most important thing is that from the ad, you know already what is mentioned as a, let's say, problematic area, or where some work needs to be done. If any of your findings do not match what is advertised, then that is good for you in a way, because it will permit you to negotiate on the price. So you can bring down the price of the boat based on your findings. So let's suppose that going back to my previous episode about the canopy. Let's suppose that the canopy hasn't been advertised as being in a bad shape, and you inspect it and you know that something needs to happen to it. You need to do some work on it. You can then tell the owner that, okay, you're asking X amount, however, the canopy needs to be fixed. So is it okay if we, let's say, bring the price down $500, $600, so that I can put that kind of money on fixing the canopy. So as you can see, these kind of small details that you figure out that haven't been advertised will play to your advantage in bringing that price down. These are my tips for you to use when you are buying a boat. If you found that guide useful, please leave a like. Please leave a comment with if you are planning to buy a boat, what are you planning to use it, and where you're located. Thank you very much for watching. Until the next video, bye.